welcome back to another video. I've decided to paint my Hawk 250, and the reason I'm doing that is because I really like the look of the white and black, and obviously I bought a black Hawk. You can see I've removed some body panels already in preparation for painting. So this is what it looks like naked. You can see the modifications. I deleted the air box basically, went to this type of filter, which works great by the way. So it's really simple. You just remove your panels, front one, this one here, headlight, it's a couple screws, and then to separate the headlight from the other housing there are 4 screws in the corners, and then the headlight comes out. And then obviously we've got our 2 panels on this side, and then I've got them over here. What I did was I scuffed them up a little bit, and so they'll hold paint, primer, whatever. And then the key thing to this is, after you've chosen your colors, you need to pick a good paint that is compatible, that will work good. And the most important thing that you're going to need is a plastic adhesion promoter. And this is the one I recommend right here. It's Bulldog. And you have to follow the instructions carefully on the back. Make sure you do that. You basically just have to put like a mist coat on, and then let it dry, and then put another coat on, and it's all in the instructions. And this is basically your primer. And there's no color in the primer, but that's what makes the paint stick. And I'm going to be using a base clear urethane setup. The paint I'm using is a 2K high gloss clear coat, and that's the key. That's what will make this more like a factory automobile paint job. And the modern urethane paints have enough flex in them that they will hold up to a little bit of abuse. Not a ton, you know, but I'm expecting this to turn out pretty good. All right, so I got my parts all scuffed up and prepped and cleaned off. And now I'm ready to apply the Bulldog adhesion promoter. So I'm going to put a really light mist coat on first, let it dry for about 3 to 5 minutes, then apply a slightly wetter coat, a little more uniform coverage of this, let it dry about 10 minutes or so, and then I can start applying the paint. This is the primer, you don't need any additional primer, and I'm going to put the paint on after that. So the paint I got is a urethane, and it's a white. I just went ahead and used a Ford paint color, the same color as my truck. That way, you know, keep it similar, and that way I can use touch-up paint. If you just use a random white, it'd be hard to use touch-up paint, so that's why I did that. They mixed this up with my NAPA locally for me, and it was only about $13 a can, which when you do the math, that's a really good deal, because you need this to be compatible with the top coat, which is going to be the 2K urethane gloss. Alright, so we'll let that dry about 5 minutes. Definitely going to wear a respirator for the rest of this. This stuff smells pretty nasty. Alright, it's been about 5 minutes, so I'm going to apply the next coat of the Bulldog. And it's just another light coat, just to make sure you have full coverage. But it is, you want a light coat, you don't want too much. And then we'll wait about 10 minutes. It'll be time to put on the color. Alright, so after you give this 5-10 minutes to dry, see it almost has like a shiny kind of sheen to it. That's actually what it looks like after it's been primered and ready for the paint. So depending on what type of paint you use will depend on what you do next. But in my case, like I said, I'm using this urethane in a can. And basically you put it on, start with a light coat, and wait 5 to 10 minutes between coats. Do as many coats as you need to get good coverage, and then we'll have to wait at least a half hour or more before we apply the clear coat. Alright, so that's the first coat. Had one little tiny run over here. I was able to work it out. Normally you'd have to wait till it dries and sand it off, but I've done this a few times. So anyway, so we'll let that dry about 10 minutes and then we'll come back and do another coat. You will need multiple bottles of paint to do this right, so don't buy just one. Alright, now it's time for coat number 2. Alright, so the last coat, the second coat, I got everything completely covered. Everything's white. It looks pretty good. Kind of tell how it's going to look. So on the final, I'm going to put one more coat on. One last thick coat of white, and then I'll let that dry and we'll do the clear coat. My final color coat. Let it dry for at least half an hour, and we'll put on the clear coat. When we do the clear coat, you definitely have to wear a respirator if you use the 2K clear coat. It could kill you if you breathe it in. It will destroy your lungs, so you absolutely have to wear a respirator. There's no getting around it. And obviously I'm painting in an open garage, which is definitely not ideal conditions to paint. As far as dust and hair and stuff getting in your paint, but I can actually make this work pretty good. I've done it enough. Would I want to paint a car in here? No, but this is my Chinese motorcycle, so if I get a piece of dust in my paint, I'm not going to cry. Alright, so this is the clear coat I'll be using, Spray Max 2K Clear Glamour. This is the part number right here. And the reason it's 2K is because it's 2 parts, so there's actually a separate container within this, and then you take this red piece here, and it comes off. And what you want to do is shake the can for a minute or so, then you take this red piece, and you stick it onto the bottom like this, and then we're going to really hard on the ground, we're going to hit this, and it's going to actually break the seal and mix the 2 parts together, and then you want to mix this for a couple minutes, like you would mix any can of paint, and then it's ready to spray. The 2 parts are mixed. You only have up to 48 hours pot life on this. I'd say more like 12 hours really, to spray it. And since it is 2 parts, it's got a hardener. So instead of just relying on a solvent to evaporate, actually use a hardening, which is what makes this so much better than regular old 1K, or lacquer type clear coat. So definitely got to get your respirator on. This is the stuff, like I said, that's really dangerous. And then we'll go ahead and mix it first. So like I said, we're gonna compress this. You hear it snap. You want to make sure it snaps, and then start shaking. Always hit it a couple times to make sure it's good. Alright, so I got 2 coats on. That's what it looks like. You can see, for most people, for something like this, you don't even need to wet sand and buff this. Look at that finish. It's like glass. No sanding or anything. Way better than stuff you can buy at the auto parts store. So it's worth the investment. Spend a little bit more money on your paint. Make sure you got good prep. Use the right stuff. You can't buy any of this at the parts store. You got to order it or go to a specialty store. So you can do a really good job with a rattle can. I think this turned out really good, especially considering we're not in a paint booth or anything. So maybe it helped you out, gave you a little bit of confidence to try to tackle this yourself. The key is, if you mess something up, you gotta let it dry, sand it down, do it again. You can't really fix it when it's wet normally, so just keep that in mind. Alright, hopefully this video helped you out. Be sure to like it, subscribe, and leave a comment if you have any questions or comments. We'll see you next time.